the private sector and commit to work together. As I pass on the baton to my successor, I'm filled with confidence and hope for the future. I have complete faith in your ability, the ability of the incoming board and the incoming sector leaders and everything, to continue to lead Kenya favorably forward for the children, like we said, for our membership, and I'm eager to see what lies ahead. In closing, I want to thank each one of you for your unwavering support, trust, and friendship through my tenure. It has been an absolute privilege to honor and serve you as the chairperson. I leave with a profound sense of gratitude, immense pride that in all that we have accomplished together. Thank you for your collective efforts, and I remain committed and totally at your disposal. So, item 6 of the agenda is to note the names of the Kepsa sector board leaders for the 2023 to 2025 term. May I kindly request the Kepsa Governing Council Nomination Committee, Mr. Masharia Muthondu, to provide us with the names of the candidates nominated as the sector board leaders for 23 to 25.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Chair Emeritus. I have a very big speech here, which had been prepared for this particular section, but we're also conscious that we have to go into another session of the members with the Cabinet Secretary and team. So allow me not to read this speech. Allow me just to give you the names of the retiring Governing Council members and the ones who are coming in. If you'd like a copy of the speech, you can check out our Twitter page at Kepsa Kenya. You can also log into kepsa.go.ke and we will post it there. So we had, Patrick talked about the nomination process, so I'm going to skip that. We have a 6-pillar strategy. Our plan is to mirror as much the government operations as possible. So we have the nominees of the various sector boards. There are a total of 14. And we have some federations that represent sector boards. So the people who are retiring, very quickly, we have Hilary Onami leaving the Devolution Sector Board. We have, you can save your applause until I finish reading the names, and you can just give them one full round of applause so that we can save time. We have Victor Gekonyo Gitonga, Lands and Physical Planning. We have Herbert Mwachiro, who I'm told has joined the Kilifi County Government, leaving the Sports and Arts and Culture. We have Alfred Kobundo, EAC. We have Mucha Milingo, Gender. We have Mary Gesho, who has now joined the board, leaving the SME Sector Board. Ashif Kasam, who has joined the KRA Board, leaving the Public Finance Sector Board. We have Eva Warigia leaving the Public Finance Sector Board as well. Genesio Mugo and leaving the Energy and Extractives Sector Board. Mombi Kega, Industrialization and Trade. Manoj Shah, Industrialization and Trade also. We have Waidera Gaido leaving the Youth Sector Board. Kangangi Wanjohi leaving the Devolution Sector Board. June Gashui, my good friend, I saw her here earlier. She's leaving the Sports, Arts and Culture Sector Board. Frida Owinga leaving the SME Sector Board as Vice Chair. And then we have Mary Okiro leaving the gender sector board. We have Steve Barry, leaving the security sector board as chair. And then we have Karen Basie, leaving as vice chair of environment, water and natural resources sector board. And Faith Kithu, leaving the EAC sector board. Now you can give them one big round of applause. You're good students. So the next lot, I'll also read them out, and then you can give them another round of applause. So these are the people who are joining the sector boards. And in public finance, we have CPA Rose Mwaura, and as chair, deputized by Jilna Shah. In education, we have Dr. Vincent Gaido, deputized by Wairimu Jage. In education, again, we have a second vice chair, Priscilla Kirebi. In energy, we have George Aluru, and deputized by John Jogu. In economic diplomacy, we have James Moreu, deputized by Angela Nganga. Environment, water and natural resources, we have Emily Waiter, deputized by Dr. John Wandaka. And then in security, we have Annette Kimitei, deputized by Cosmas Mutava. Tourism, we have Fred Odek, whom I had seen here earlier, chairman of Kenya Tourism Federation, deputized by Susan Ongalo. And then in health, we have Dr. Walter Obita, deputized by Dr. Tim Theuri. And then in labor, we have Marco Buya, deputized by Jacqueline Mugo. We wanted to speak about the SMEs, gender and youth. It's on the speech, so when you log in, you'll find it there. But it's, we wanted to just simply let you know that we want to mainstream gender and youth into all of the sector boards. So we'll be asking our members to nominate. When you're nominating members to the sector board, please take into consideration that we need representation from the youth, and we need representation from in terms of gender. So if you have too many ladies, give us a man. If you have too many men, give us a lady. And all these people that you nominate will now be congregating and forming one big gender and youth sector board. So that's how we plan to mainstream those sector boards in the next couple of years, and we do hope that you will support us. I would also like to take you from the chair and thank my fellow colleagues on the nominations committee. If we had time, I would have told you to stand up, but now just clap for the nominees. I was really trying to go through this in 5 minutes. I hope I have achieved that. Thank you very much, and have a good rest of the day.
Thank you very much, Mike. Short and sweet. Congratulations to the incoming chair and vice chairs of the sector boards. So there's item 5 on the agenda, which was to reappoint Messrs. PricewaterhouseCoopers as auditors of the company until the conclusion of the next AGM, and to authorize directors to fix the auditor's remuneration for the ensuing financial year. May I have a proposer for the reappointment of PricewaterhouseCoopers as auditors of Kepsa until the conclusion of the next AGM, and to authorize directors to do so, to negotiate their remuneration. So proposer Nick Nesbitt, seconder Mureo. Asanteni sana. So item 6B on the agenda is to note the names. No, that one has been done. Item 6C on the agenda is to appreciate the retiring directors and sector board leaders. And I believe the CEO will read something.
Thank you very, very much, Chair. I'll do this also very fast because of the interest of time. And I would like to start with the outgoing board of directors and first recognize our CS for Trade and Investment and Industry, Honorable Kuria, and also the leadership of KNCCI, Dr. Ruto, and your Vice Chair for joining us this morning to show the unity of the private sector working together to deliver the mandate of Kenya being a global competitive country, and especially in the light of ACFTA. So if you'll allow me, I'll ask our CS to join me up here. I'm throwing him a suicide, but it's just to hand over some little gifts to the outgoing directors. And I'll also ask the chair of the nomination committee and the current chair to join me here as we hand over some of these mementos to remind these directors of their time and service to Kepsa, even as they continue to serve Kepsa in various capacities, whether it's in the foundation, sector boards, other meetings, and in various other organized areas of Kepsa that they'll continue to serve. So I'll go very fast, and of course I'll start with the chair, Flora Mutahi. Oh, sorry, up here at the front here, in the middle. If I can move very fast. And chair, we hope we can continue to fly like the eagle that never tires and never goes. Elizabeth Wala. Bring them. Start moving them quickly. We know you're an SME. Okay, so we know you're an SME, so time is of essence to grow a new organization. And so as you grow your new organization, Catherine Musakali is virtually, she's in Ghana, so we will deliver hers. Eva Muraya, a champion of gender and also SMEs. Just move, please, very fast. Followed by Graham Shaw, Allen Gishuhi, Mushai Kunyiha, Stephen Gitegama, who is also not here, and then Nicholas Nesbitt, in that order. Graham Shaw. We hope that the Lions will continue to roll in the British.
Thank you, I noticed that.
In the British chamber.
Next.
Alan Gishuhi. Then Mushai Kunyiha.
Mushai first.
No, it's Mushai. Okay, Mushai. And then Alan. Stephen is not here, and then we'll have Nicholas Nesbitt. Alan Gishuhi. And then Nicholas Nesbitt.
Thank you, dear. So much.
And then the outgoing governing council, in this order, Hilary Onami, Herbert Mwachiro, I know he's in Mombasa. Gikonyo Gitonga. Alfred Kobundo, who is now the trade PS. You took him away from us, yes. Mucha Mulingo, who is also in South Africa. Ashif Kasam, Eva Warigia, in that order. Then vice chairs, Masi Okiro, Frida Owinga, Kangangi Wanjohi, Waidera Gaido, June Gashui, Manoj Shah, Mumbi Kiega, Steve Barry, Karen Basie, Genesio Mugo, Faith Gitu. The ones who are here, I know some are joining us online, CS, so you may not have the pleasure to meet them today, but they are online, but we will continue to meet them. But the ones who are here, please, where are we?
Next one.
Okay.
Alfred.
Alfred is not here, the PS. We should have told the CS to come with the PS. Ashif Kasim, Eva Warigia. And then we go to the vice chairs. Masi Okiro, if she's here. If she's not, she is. Okay, good. Oh, okay, I'm missing. Okay. And then Frida Owinga, following. Kangangi Wanjohi. Zoide Rakaido here. No, I can't see her. Maybe she's online. Jude Gashui, at least I saw her. Manoj Shah, I don't think he's here. Mumbi Kega, I think I saw her. Steve Barry is awake. Karen Basie, she here? Safaricom, maybe not. Genesio, I've seen Genesio. And Faith Gitu, she's also, I think, online. Okay. June Gashui, they can hold any and then we can change.
Yeah, just bring.
Just bring, Faith, just bring. Just bring, yeah. Just bring whatever is there, we'll change. And as we do that, Aflin, we had a gift also we wanted to give the incoming chair from a group that he belongs to. And Vimal will do that on our behalf. So there's this group that is ladies only except Vimal and Betty. And so the ladies said they have to give up flowers to the incoming chair. They are not here today. I think there's only one. Oh, there's Gloria is here. Sarah is not here. Waturi is not here. Agatha is not here. Felicity is not here. The rest are not here, but we're on behalf of a group called Kalapam that these two gentlemen have continued to mentor very well. Really wanted to appreciate the incoming chair and decided Vimal shall be the one to actually deliver the flowers, escorted by Gloria. And the CS can join in that photo of that. So don't ask why he's receiving flowers. It's because it's a girls group. Thank you very much, CS. You may take your seat, and we'll just finish the AGM, and then I'll call you in a minute.
Dear members, we have now concluded the business of the 19th AGM, and I'd like to thank you very much for your patience and for attending this AGM. I know it is long, but very, very useful. I request that we remain seated for the last session of our program. But before I do that, I just want to let you know today is Carol's birthday. Happy birthday, Carol.
Thank you. I'm 18 all over again. Thank you very, very much. We'll move to the second session. We are running a bit late, but we'll skip all the other parts we had wanted to do and move straight to the CS, who's graciously come to join us this morning. And he's asked for a change of our program to have a panel. And I'll ask the people here who are part of the AGM to please take their seats, and please a round of applause for the work they've done with us. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Thank you. So what we had planned to do, wanted to showcase a short video of our youth work, but because of the interest of time, and the CS is very keen on really seeing how the private sector can really partner with him on an agenda. He has a very big passion, which actually our founding chair, Manu, mentioned, and it's the youth and jobs. And he really wants to see how we can grow our internships and really create new jobs. And so he'd asked to join us this morning that we can expound on this agenda, and I'll be inviting him here soon. So unfortunately, it's one of those tricky days for me. I actually have a funeral service that has just started of a family member, so I'll be begging to leave in a few. But I'll leave the CS in the good hands of the board and management and all of you, and the incoming chair to continue this session. I'd hoped to finish by 10, but we have gone a bit over time. But I don't want to take a shortcut on this. The strategy is online for those who've not engaged with it, and if you look at it, it's basically on global competitiveness, and we'll be delivering that. And so before I call the CS to come up and do the panel, which will be moderated by Brenda, and I'll throw a suicide, because it was also a suicide throw to me to sit in the panel. I'll ask Flora to sit in the panel from my place. And Just Betty will sit in the panel, and the KNCCI chair will also sit on the panel. And while he's in the panel, he'll also say a few words of the partnership he sees as having as Kepsa and Chamber. Around the world, you'll find the businesses that unify the private sector, umbrella bodies and Chamber of Commerce is partnering very well and working very closely. The CS was with me when we were in the US in December, and he saw CCA and the US Chamber of Commerce really handle that event very well together. And that's what we would like to emulate here as a country. We used to have it, we lost it at some point, but in the leadership of the new chair, Dr. Ruto, I know we will have it back and work together. So I really, really am grateful. So as I call up the CS to come and take a seat, Just Betty and also Brenda, and I'll ask Flora to please take that seat. Let me ask the chairs that have been of Kepsa, because we are joined here today by the founding chair, to stand up right here, and I'll ask the CS to remain for a minute down here and take a photo with them. Really, we have those chairs with us for a while. So if you're a past chair, that includes Flora, the incoming chair can come up. Your time will come. So Lee and others, help Manu up. I'll have them take, and then I'll join them for one, because I've worked with all these chairs, and it's been a privilege to work with them. So once the chairs take a photo, I'll have that. And then at the very end, I'll leave this in the care of Just Betty. Please do have a photo taken between the outgoing board and the CS, and also the GC and the CS and the incoming board. Below.
Carol, before you sit, before you have your photo, as part of the creative industry, June Gashui wants to sing something special for you today.
Check, check. Good morning, Kepsa family. The creative and art sector are here, and I know that all these gentlemen can speak, but I want to make sure that we sing for them as they arrange themselves. It requires you to sing along as well, so I hope that you've had a good cup of coffee. I'll do the first one, then you'll add yourselves. Is that okay, choir? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Carol. Happy birthday to you. Now the Kepsa version goes a little like this. Happy birthday, dear Carol. Happy birthday, dear Carol. Happy birthday, dear dear Carol. Happy birthday, dear Carol. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, dear Carol. We will not ask, how old are you now? She already told us she's 18. Happy birthday, Carol. Thank you all.
Thank you, June. Thank you, June.
Thank you, June. You're always a plot and a very good friend. So as I stepped down, the CS had given me some homework, which we have done. And I have the document, the internship document. He'd asked, as he comes here, to discuss that agenda and ensures that we partner with him, that at least we give him something that we have done. And CS, we will not disappoint you. We've been hard at work, working very hard, and the team has really delivered. Some of the companies said they didn't want to be mentioned by name, so I'll give them those in private, and then you'll call them. But we will be giving you a list before you leave here of those who have committed and those who have pledged, so that we can begin from there. And as far as I know, by yesterday, we had over the commitments and the pledges are almost 150. So we are getting to the target, you know. So we will deliver what you asked. Oh, these are interns that many of you have committed to have in your own organizations so that they can start the journey of employment. Others have pledged to take, and we are working on, within the year. So we have a year to work on this. So if you have not received a call from my office, you'll be receiving one. But also today will be an opportunity to commit to say, I will take 2 in the next 1 year. I will take 10. I will take 20. And so that we can start reducing the burden of unemployment in this country. Thank you very much. So I hand over to the new Vice Chair, Brenda Buddy, for this session. And then the new chair will conclude the session and ensure that all is done well. Thank you. Please allow me to leave for this day. Thank you.
May I ask the panelists to please take their seats? Good morning, everyone. I know we've been here a little longer than we expected to. But the spirit of being agile, when the CS came into the room and he saw all the private sector, he said, I'm not coming here to speak to people. I'm just coming here to be with them. I want us to have a joint conversation. I want to be on stage with a panel, and I want the private sector to take their time this morning to feel free to ask me questions. Today is a very pivotal day in our country because we know there's a big bill being read in Parliament today, so we know that there are questions from the private sector. The CS, is very ready for us. He says he feels encouraged when he sees us, and he's very ready to handle all questions. But as we also know, in the last few days, Dr. Eric Ruto has been nominated as the new head of the National Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Dr. Ruto. It is truly a pleasure to have you on stage here with Kepsa. And we know that this will be the new dawn, a new beginning of an increased partnership. And so maybe before the CS says a few words, can we allow Dr. Ruto to also share a few words with us and also to take questions from the audience if you wish. Dr. Ruto, maybe over to you.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair. Our Honorable Cabinet Secretary for Trade Investments, Moses Kuria, the newly nominated chair for Kepsa, and a great friend, Jaz Bedi, and Flora Mutai, she's the chair emeritus. We worked together previously, and the founder of Kepsa, Manu Chandaria. It's an honor that I was sitting at the same table with you. All the other board directors, outgoing, and the ones who've been nominated today, and the members of Kepsa. And I can also scan around the room. I can also see members of Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the other distinguished business ladies and gentlemen. A great morning. It's an honor sitting here today representing the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Is a new mandate that we've been given approximately now 6 days ago, because that mandate was given to us at almost midnight 1 week ago at Bomas of Kenya. And to start with, is that I'd like to appreciate the Kenya government because they came to witness our elections. Was represented by the Chief Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, and he came to our event and he told us that we want the private sector and the chamber to be organized, and we were organized and we were very civil. So thank you very much, government, and represented here by Moses Kuria, for partnering with the chamber and the private sector. Yes, Caro has talked about the chambers of commerce and industry and the role that they play, both locally in the country and internationally. So I'd like to tell the business people who are sitting here today that yes, it's a new dawn, and I'm happy that the process of reforming the chamber started somewhere in 2011, and by 2012 we had a new lease of life in 2014, and we relaunched the chamber in 2014, and it was attended by our patron then, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. And that is the time, while I was doing lobby issues in my sector in the medical field, is when I joined the chamber. But quick forward, we've come that far, and we want to build a very strong chamber. Our structure is that we have 47 chapters, and being led by 47 county boards around the country. And Patrick Obath, when you are sitting there, being the chair of the nominating board, I wish we had you at our elections, because for us to be able to sit and to become the chair of Kenya National Chamber of Commerce, we have to lobby throughout the country. So I was sitting with Moses Kuria here and telling him that we've done a presidential campaign, and they require us to be physically present in the 47 chapters and to visit those businesses. And you can imagine the number of businesses and members that we have. But so be it. We've done a whole month around the country. It's a learning experience. It's beautiful going around the country. You got one of the largest steel manufacturers, and Manu Chandari is sitting here in Siaya, who was a guy in the Jua Kali sector, but now he's a manufacturer of steel in Siaya County, employing approximately 50 people, with the potential of employing more. Actually, he imports raw material from Uganda. And you can see how, and he also sells to Uganda and Rwanda. So you can see how we need to build our businesses across the 47 chapters. And quick forward, nationally, we have a network of the 177 chapters of chambers of commerce and industry across the world. And equally also with access of approximately 45 million companies that you can access globally. But we don't want to talk about the numbers. we want to talk about the numbers in terms of what is the benefit of our business community. So I want to bring fast forward about the relationship that we want to have as Kenya National Chamber of Commerce, Kepsa, Kenya Association of Manufacturers, and FKE, that has been mentioned here. And the board told me to tell you a story. So Honorable CS, kindly allow me to tell a story, an African story. So there used to be great friends, and these great friends were four. There used to be the rat, very beautiful rat. There used to be a cock, and there used to be a white bull and an eagle in our history. The role of the eagle, and then everything was very good then. There was plenty. So the role of the eagle was to make sure that when the rains are coming, he comes and tells the rat and the bull that the rain is coming. So the role of the bull was to make sure that he prepares the land. And the role of the rat was to make sure that he plants the crops. The cock was to make sure that everyone wakes up on time. So these four friends, one day at around midnight, the cock woke up and made a lot of noise. And the other three friends woke up and said, "What is the problem with you today? Why are you waking up us so early?" So the cock continued making noise, but the cock was making noise and saying that he's seeing something black going to the house and the hole of the rat. And he shouted and he told the others, "Come." But no one heard. Of course, you can tell the story of the rat, it disappeared. The following day, of course, the black thing came again, and the cock woke up at midnight, made a lot of noise, but after a short while, the noise stopped. So the others were saying, the bull, after all, the black thing is so small, he's not going to come to me. And they go saying, "I'm so high, the snake, the black snake is not going to reach into me." So that day, the black thing came again when the bull was asleep and injected poison. And of course, the white bull disappeared. And the fourth day, you can guess, the snake can climb up the tree and the eagle disappeared. So the story that I'm bringing is that Kenya National Chamber of Commerce, Kepsa, FKE, and CAM do not have any option. We are friends. We have to work together. We are like the eagle, the white bull, the rat, and the cock. So I come with a message here today, and as we were sharing with our great mentor, Manu Chandaria, who started before I was born, he said he used to have a meeting quarterly with the chairman of the four organizations, that is CAM, FKE, KNCCI, and another organization, I think he talked about East African Business Council. So that is a message that I'm bringing from the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce across the 47 chapters, and the national board are here today, and I want to assure government that we are one voice. We want to build a world-class chamber, and for us to be able to build a world-class chamber, first of all, we must build our businesses to be world-class. And going around the country, we have seen what our members need. Of course, the first thing is opportunities for our members. Not necessarily that will be provided by government, but what we just need is a good business environment for us to be able to work into. So thank you very much for listening to me. And we shall be working together. Fast forward, Flora, you need to tell them that we've sat in this hotel as Kenya Chamber and as Kepsa to design on how we are going to work together. And just Betty then, you are the vice chair. Marisha's the retired chair here. We have sat here. Those sittings will continue. And most likely, it will continue to a point whereby we are one voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ruto. Dr. Ruto, thank you so much for re-emphasizing the need for us to be unified and working together going forward. And I think, as you said, so it's a new dawn for all of us. And I believe that the catalyst behind this is our CS, Moses Kuria. CS Moses Kuria, can I ask you to say a few words and to also invite the audience to speak with you?
Thank you very much, Brenda, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen, captains of industry. When I came in here, I was supposed to make a speech, and I told Brenda that I have so much to say that I cannot say to you, but we can only have a conversation. And to me, this conversation has been long overdue. I've been on my job now for 7 months, and it is very clear in terms of what, 1, we are doing right, 2, we are doing wrong, and 3, on how we can be able to move forward. You recall, for some of you, that around 10 days ago, we were in this same room with the president, and I remember that time we were going for an event in Busia, and I told the president, I want you to talk to the private sector again. It's not the first time. And I meant that it was my intention that he attends this AGM. But because we knew he had an event in Geneva today, so he told me, this is so important, bring it forward. So just the event we had here with the president was actually supposed to be today. And it's because I feel, and I want to put this challenge to all of you, that as government, over the last 7 to 8 months, we are moving ahead of the private sector. The government is ahead of you. And I want to be corrected. I start to be corrected. And I was feeling, and as we said, for those who are there, that national government, county government, we have the same view for the first time since the new constitution in 2010 of how to move the country forward. And I was hoping now the private sector can be persuaded to think with us, walk with us. We have an open, frank discussion. We might not see things the same way all the time, but I think, and I want to plead, that we create a framework and a platform for which we can be discussing things that we agree and things we don't agree, so that we can be able to move together. And I know, because on a personal level, I have worked with Kepsa for a long time. As a matter of fact, as a volunteer, this gentleman here introduced me to Kepsa, Lee Karoli, in the year 2007. Yeah? And we tried to do so many things. When I was a member of parliament, I worked with Kepsa, with CAM, with Chamber, on many legislation. And if you look at my legislative record for 10 years, I was actually a voice of the private sector. It was not even my agenda. And I want to put it on record that you did not pay me. But I was finding it much easier to get some synthesis of ideas from most of you here. Lee, we've sat with you, Caro, Vimal, we've had many sessions with Moshai here, and your former CEO, Phyllis, you know, we've had these discussions. And that time, the agony was that the private sector have got this agenda. And the government then was not very responsive. And so you came to me, Lee, and you asked me, help us because you understand that space. You came to me, Vimal, and you tell me, help us because maybe you understand people in government better than us. And all of these people. Now, you are here, and I'm on the other end. I am in government, and I'm the minister. Where should we now pick it from there and be able to move together? Yeah? And let me tell you something. I'm not doing you a favor for being here. You are doing my job. But most important, I'm also doing your job. For the last 7 months, I've been running all over the world like a madman, talking to people, why can't you invest in Kenya? Why can't you buy our products? Why can't we have a B2B relationship between your company? That is not my job. That is your job. Today, I want to retreat. Unlocking of an environment that is friendly for business. But the work I've been doing for 7 months is your job as a private sector. And I'm asking you to step forward and do what you need to do. Let me just say some few things, and forgive me if they hurt you or they touch you in the wrong way. I've been going to so many countries. For the last 7 months, I think I've clocked like 27 countries. 14 of them, I've met presidents discussing business and discussing trade and investment and all these other topics. I have also gone with the presidents to various countries, and we've met the private sector in those countries. But I want to say something. As a Minister of Trade, Investment and Industry, sometimes I feel embarrassed. I go to a country, I'll tell you something. I was in November, I was in South Korea with the president. And I have these wonderful companies, LG, Hyundai, Samsung, very big, corporates from South Korea. And then I had my delegation of the private sector. First, in terms of numbers, from Kenya, I had 7 companies or 7 representatives. From South Korea, I had 115. And South Korea were telling me, is this the forum we are going to do matchmaking between 115 companies and 3 companies? The 3 companies, they don't have a business card. They don't have a fixed address. Really, please, I want you to be in my shoes as a minister for Kenya and imagine how I felt. And I had prepared a speech for the president. And in this speech I said, we have got a robust private sector in Kenya. And we have a robust private sector in South Korea. And today is that opportunity where the private sector in Kenya will meet the private sector in South Korea. I think just you are with me in that meeting. It is not fair. It is really not fair. One, I know we have got quality private sector in Kenya. We have got private companies. We have good corporates. Those are the people I want to see in the room when I go to other countries, when the president goes to other countries. So how do I find myself with people of no fixed address in a meeting it is embarrassing, really. In March, we had a wonderful meeting with Brenda here and Amcham. And I'm Brenda, let me confess, because I'm a very straightforward person. One of the reasons I came to this meeting is when I heard that you are now the vice chair of Kepsa. Yeah. Because you know, you know the difference between, for example, the US Chamber and our business organizations here. The other day, I was in the US, I think in February or March, and I was addressing the US Chamber, and they put companies on the table. Who is on the table? Visa, Citibank, Pfizer, name it, Coca-Cola. We are discussing serious issues. And when they ask you a question, you know it is a question with some foundation. And I was saying, why can't I have this in my country? If we raise the level of business representation in this country, I want to be in your forum every week, not every month. Because this is a shared responsibility. I am the Minister of Trade, Investment and Industry, but I think that is too weird. It should be shortened. I am simply the Minister for Private Sector. Yeah? So I'm the minister for you, all of you. And the sooner we create a working mechanism that is acceptable, then I think we are going to go places. So what are the challenges I see? And I want to challenge you here today. One, please work for 3 things. Work for the country. It's important you work for the country. Because you don't sell to yourself. You sell to the country. If the country is doing well, your businesses will do well. So my job is your job. When I am saying I want to lift people from poverty, what I'm saying in your language, what you should write in your annual report, he wants to increase our turnover. Yeah? Because that's what I want to do. Because if I get people out of poverty, I give people purchasing power, then your businesses will be better off. So it is not my job, it is our job, me and you. Me, because maybe I want to be voted again as a government. But for you, because you want to report profits. Yeah, so we cannot run away from each other. And we have the same responsibility. So, second level, work for your industry, work for your sector. Third level, work for your business. Fourth level, work for your self-satisfaction. And that pyramid should be like that. But now what do I find in this country? I find people, first of all, you call yourself a business organization, a Kepsa, a CAM, a chamber, a FKE. People are working for themselves first. Then second, your business. Then third, your sector. And if you still have some time, you go work for the country. Me, I want us to really turn around that one. Let's work for the country first. Yeah? We work for the country first. If you work for the country, your sector will be better off. If your sector is better off, your business will be better off. If your business is better off, you as an entrepreneur or as a CEO, as management, you'll be better off. So let us reinvert that pyramid. And really say, today, I want to do what can move Kenya forward. Because if Kenya moves forward, my sector moves forward. If my sector moves forward, my business moves forward. If my business moves forward, I move forward as an individual. And me, that when I look at this leadership, just Brenda, Dr. Ruto, yeah, that's what I see. That we can be able now to create a new chapter of redefining our strategic path, reimagining this country again, of how we can be able to move forward. Finally, guys, let us think big. Me, I think in this country, business is satisfied to be small. It is so lucrative to be small. There is no incentive to be big. And it's because a lot of things that has happened in this country has made being small very lucrative. So you say me, as long as I'm comfortable, because the market dynamics are not right. They encourage few people to be in this space. You cannot grow an economy by exclusion. You can only grow an economy by being inclusive. If you go to the US, for example, you find any business can do well. People have money. We have got SMEs. Spain, 95% of Spanish corporates are SMEs. Here, SME is something you say from the toilet, hiding, because you think it's a shame. Be an SME. Here, Spain, which is a much bigger economy than ours, is an SME territory. Yeah? So let us create an environment whereby the small guy becomes the medium guy, but the medium guy becomes a big guy. But here, nobody is small. All of you are not small. You're not small. Nobody is small in this room. But nobody is big. You are MSMEs in other economies. You are. You are MSMEs. The other day I was telling the president, compared to GE and all that, we have got some of our thriving SMEs like Safaricom. And he told me, you cannot call my biggest company an SME. But that's what we are. We are very small. Can we please aspire to be big? Yeah? Do not fall into that comfort of being small for two reasons. One, because there's opportunity to be big. Why are you being small when you have an opportunity to be big? Two, because what you're calling comfort, this man speaking to you today will disrupt it. I am going to comfort the afflicted. Yeah? I'm going to comfort the afflicted. But I am going to afflict the comfortable. Yeah? So that you come out of that comfort zone of yours, of thinking you are big, but you are not big, you are small. How can I go to another country? I go to DRC. I don't find your logo there. 1.3 billion people. You are saying last month we had a meeting of the trade ministers of Africa. And we had our investment conference and the first ever private sector dialogue between private sector and government for AFCFT, which I recommended and I hosted here. And I had said, give me companies. I had companies from all over Africa. I started with the 12 largest economies by GDP, all population. 60 companies from South Africa, Angola, DRC, Nigeria, Ghana, Egypt, Morocco. So that was 60 companies. One company from all other countries which are not making that category. And I said, let me have 10 companies whom I wanted to award something called Continental Badges. And that is a company with a presence in more than 10 countries. Do you know, I had only 3 companies. Only 3 African companies have got, I'm not talking about multinationals. Only 3 African companies have got presence in more than 10 countries. What a shame. So we are all Olympic swimming champions for swimming in your bathtubs. That's what we are. Olympic swimming champions in your bathtubs. That I cannot find more than 10 companies with presence in more than 10 countries. And we're saying, oh, we are huge markets. 1.3 billion people of Africa. $3.4 trillion of GDP. What are we doing ourselves in terms of going there? So, please, even as we aspire to do the right things for the country, do the right things for yourself. Go out there, spread out, want from the bottom of your heart, say, I aspire to be big. I know I can drive the best car for being small. I know I can rock out everybody else including hustlers, and be the only person in my sector, and it is so lucrative, and there's no incentive for being big. But please know that if America, if India, if China, if everybody was satisfied to be in 2-3 counties and say you are the heavyweight champion of the world, they could not be where we are. So me, I want to go to Senegal, and I find your logo in a billboard there. That's our company there. I want to go to Egypt, and now today I go to Kepsa and I complain, oh Egypt, oh you are flooding our market. Why can't I hear Egyptian companies complaining, these Kenyans are too much? Yeah? Because really, my work is, it is pitiful. You don't want to do my job. Where you go every day, I go to Egypt. Oh, Egypt, you are outboxing my companies in manufacturing. I go to South Africa. Oh, I want to protect my steel industry. Me, I don't like to be the complainant. I like people complaining about me. Yeah? So why can't I hear other countries complaining about Kenyans? DRC here, they import everything, including toothpicks. How many Kenyan companies are in DRC? And it is much easier. I can get from here to Lubumbashi than from Lubumbashi to Kinshasa. It is really our territory. Uganda here. What are we doing about it? Finally, ladies and gentlemen, please let us focus on production. Let us focus on production. We focus on value addition. That's our competitiveness. We focus on the service sector. We focus on those things that give us competitive advantage. This week, by tomorrow, I am going to sign some legislative proposal which is going to Parliament. It just means the finance bill for our BPO sector. And some of you here, I know, in the BPO sector. And for the first time, I'm signing instruments to enable special economic zones for BPOs, because we can create 1 million jobs. I'm happy Carol has said I have got 150,000, but we can create 1 million jobs on BPO. And by the way, the BPO law I'm going to sign by tomorrow for the special economic zone. Do you know what is the corporate tax rate? 0. Corporate, huh? The capital gains, 0. Yeah? Because we need to focus on those areas where we can be able to gain competitiveness. And I'm saying this because we want to engage. Come, we engage. I've been trying to get most of you to engage. Let's engage. We are not government here and private sector here. Let's engage. And that's why I'm very happy. Yesterday I called just as an incoming chair and Dr. Ruto to see how can you make my work easier. So if I go to the US and I'm meeting US chambers, who do I say is my equivalent? Is it Kepsa? Is it chamber? Is it FKE? Please simplify your structure, not just for us, because we don't live in an island. We don't live in a silo. We are part of the global economy. So please, and I plead with this gentleman, let's know that we are not. If I was the other day in Indonesia. Singapore was here the other day. Every day I'm benchmarking how governments work with the private sector in other countries. In Dubai, in the UAE, for example, we have got one chamber, the Dubai chamber, for example, and within that chamber we have got small business chamber, domestic chamber, international chamber, digital chamber. But I know if I want to go to one, I'll go to one doorstep. I can be able to create partnership with one. So, what about in my country? Guys, make it easy for me. I didn't want to work with the private sector. And I didn't want to move with the private sector to the world. On recognition point of view, most people recognize chamber. from capacity point of view, I know why Kepsa is here. I was there with Lee Karoli when we were starting Kepsa. And Kepsa was born out of a necessity of the problems we had with chamber. But I want to persuade you, and I've been very instrumental. I remember when UNDP gave the first grant, I remember it was 20 million shillings to reform the chamber in 2008. I am the one who wrote the concept note for my then boss, Minister for Trade, Uhuru Kenyatta. And I requested UNDP to support in reform of the chamber. So over the last 15 years, we've walked a distance with the chamber, and that you can have democratic elections, sikusikia vita and all that. It means also the chamber has, we've come some distance. Kepsa, you have got some very fundamental strength. And now even with Brenda here, with AmCham, with other networking. So how can we be able to, I'm really asking again, and I will never tire of asking, how can you make my work easier? Just, and Daktari, to say, when we go out there, I go to the US, I go to China, they don't care who is chamber, who is Kepsa, who is everything. How can we all be able to work together? As long as we have shared values. I mean, I'm saying, if your shared value is being small, get out of my way. Don't even try. If our values is about what works for you as an individual, not for the country, get out of the way. But if we can be able to find some convergence between private sector and the government, between your individual goals, your corporate goals, your sectoral goals, your private sector goals, and the larger goals of the people of Kenya, welcome. Let us work together and move together on shared values. Lakini, let us not be hypocrites. Me, I always say, if you are not on the same path, I will not even, it's okay. Tutakuwa marafiki, just, we can do koroga and all that together. But if we are working together, let us ensure that we share the values and we also have a common platform with which we can go out there to conquer our region, EAC, COMESA, to conquer AFCFTA, to conquer the world and move the country forward. You saw yesterday, I'm sure you've seen that article which was by Bloomberg about Kenya becoming Singapore. I'm just saying, why are they revealing our secret too early? Because once we do what we are just about to do, within the next 1 year, Singapore will be here doing benchmarking. In February, I was in Addis for the AU summit, and UNIDO had organized for me and some governors and government delegation a benchmarking tour to see the industrial parks. And I looked at the Ethiopian industrial parks, and we were supposed to come and say, now, how do you want to start to come up with a replica? Last week, I had a delegation from Ethiopia coming to benchmark how we are doing our industrial parks. I was supposed to go and study how they are doing theirs. But we are able to come up with our own domestic version. The county aggregation and industrial parks. For the first time, we are going to have an industrial park in every county. And in normal circumstances, we normally have this hassle or, a tug of war between county government and national government. The county aggregation industrial parks is a shared program. I am contributing 50% of the money, and county government are contributing 50% of the money. A month ago, I told them, let us see, now we are coming to the end in the next 2 weeks of the financial year. So I told the county government, if you want us to start, put money in a supplementary budget to show me how serious you are. Let us advertise for the tenders using your money. Do you know what? I thought I had said maybe we'll start with 2, 3. And I had primed some governors to say they have put money. As we speak, 14 counties came forward. 14 counties. 14 counties put money. We are supposed to do 250 million from my end and 250 million from governors. 14 counties put minimum of 100 million in supplementary budget in the last quarter, which is so difficult. But they are so geared. They are so driven. They are so passionate. And by the way, I'll give you the counties. County of Garissa, County of Mombasa, County of Busia, County of Nyamira, County of Siaya, County of Homa Bay, County of Migori. Those 7 counties are from Azimio side. County of Meru, County of Kirinyaga, County of Muranga, County of Nakuru, County of Uasin Gishu, and County of Nandi. They are all Kenya Kwanza counties. Without anybody engineering, 7 counties were from the opposition, 7 counties were from government. How does that say? That we have a program now, we disagree about anything. But on the issue of industrialization, enterprise development, economy, we have got consensus. For me, that is you know, that in normal circumstances, counties are saying, give us more money. They are fighting. This one, counties were fighting to give me money, because that is their money. I have never seen counties fighting to give national government money. They were fighting to give me money, to start from their counties. And by the way, the governor does not wake up one day and say, I will give you 100 million shillings. They have to go to their people through the county assembly. So this county assembly is total unanimity. Let me shock you. My principal secretary and myself, I come from the county of Kiambu. My principal secretary comes from the county of Bugoma. My principal secretary, Governor Lusaka, did not have money in supplementary budget. And Governor Wamatangi did not have money. But our neighboring county, Muranga, put money, and from Bugoma, Busia, put money. I met Governor Lusaka, and he confided to the president, for the last 3 weeks, he's been working from Nairobi. He dare not step in Bugoma. They're asking him, how can Busia have money and you don't have money? The people are asking. So for the first time, we have got really people driving industrialization, people driving, value addition and enterprise development, people driving the economy, people demanding, people asking questions. That's what we need. And that's why I'm saying government is ahead of you. Once we do these 47 industrial parks, the next time you see me in another country, and I'm inviting you to join me, because whether you join me or not, I'll be with the 47 governors doing investment promotion. We'll go to China, and I'll tell them, you, tembea hapa, go everywhere, look for investors. And then we'll be doing a meeting at the airport on our way back. How many did you find out? Me, I have 5. Me, I have 4. To their counties. County of Nyamira and government of India, some institution there, they have a expo in Nyamira County in October. Can you imagine? Expo in Nyamira about industrialization in the industrial park in Nyamira out there. So guys, please smell the coffee. Smell the Kenyan coffee. Yeah? Come and join us. Tukombere, we are ahead of you at all levels of government with our industrial parks. Now you know our EPZ, we have only one EPZ at the river. I have just gazetted 5 EPZ. And in this budget, I'm putting in those 5 new EPZ, I have put 1 billion shillings in each EPZ. Because they are go a market. Out of 300 products, only 2 or 3. You look at the textile sector, where we are not even scratching the surface of opportunity. This development, this opportunity is not here in Nairobi. If I find you here, you're in the wrong place. If I find you in Nairobi, you'll be overtaken. Go to the countryside. That's why we are developing it. In our EPZ, in our special economic zone, in our massive privatization program. I am working with some investor, with one of our Pan-African bank, who are building 12 special economic zones here in Kenya, completely off balance sheet financing, with their own money, as an equity investor. One investor, 12 of them, in leather, in textile, in meat and livestock, they are building 12 special economic zones across the country. So why can't I say now, I'm happy to meet that investor, but I'm also happy to find some 4 or 5, hata kama ni wawili hapa, whom we can be able to work together to do industrialization, to do agriculture. Why now? Until today, this year, last year, we imported edible oil, whether finished or crude or whatever you call it, $1 billion. And we can be able to grow palm oil here. We can be able to grow all the other food oils here. Can't I say that before I go and look for Malaysians to come and grow edible palm oil here, before I can go and bring Indonesians, which I will do anyway, mpende musipende, I will bring people who are aligned. Can't you also be aligned? Yeah, why would you want to have just some fake economy? We have a fake economy here. Why can't we have a real economy based on production, based on the right fundamentals, and we work together? Why do I need to go and look for other foreign investors? Where are you? Please come forward. Government is ready. Do the catch up, because we are going ahead. Save me from the shame of going to look for foreign investors when you can be investors out there. Sorry, I've spoken a lot, but I thought it's important to have this discussion. Okay.
Thank you, CS. Moses Korea, you said you weren't going to, you needed us on stage to support you, but I really don't think you did. I would like to open the floor to the audience to take this opportunity to respond or to ask a question to CS Moses Korea, and indeed to Dr. Eric Ruto, or to to Jazz Bedi and to Flora Mutahi. Please, the floor is open for questions. Ben Roberts, your hand is up. I don't know if we can get some microphones, or I can offer you mine. One is coming. The next question, so that the microphones can be ready. Let's have one to Ben, and then another microphone to Dr. Maru. Okay, over there, and then we'll come to this corner. Thank you, Ben. Did you get a microphone? One is coming. Please, when you stand up, maybe introduce yourself as well, so that the CS knows who he's talking to, or anybody on this stage.
It's turned on. Thank you, Buona CS. My name is Ben Roberts. I'm chair of the ICT sector board in Kepsa. And I also work for Liquid Telecom, we're in about 15 countries in Africa and an African company. So I hope we're one of the 3 on your list that you mentioned. I really like what you said, by the way, about representing Kenya first. I do have a job where I get to go and travel to countries, expanding into other countries. I've only met 2 presidents this year, but yesterday I was in Ethiopia and I was telling them how important it was to connect to Kenya and do business with Kenya when it comes to the digital space, when it comes to ICT. Our young entrepreneurs doing business in Ethiopia and theirs doing business here, enabled by ICT infrastructure. So really the question I want to bring up, I think there's some quite important negotiations going on at the moment within the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, where there's some negotiations around a digital, what are we calling it? It's a digital protocol policy, which is being done across the 51 nations of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. I attended a session this week. Members of my sector board have put together a position paper for Kenya. It was actually AmCham were part of the sponsors of this thing, but a lot of Kenyan companies put this together. It's very important that some harmonization of ICT policies and things to enable digital trade, to enable our companies and startups to expand into those other countries. We're actually doing quite well in ICT. We're leading probably 2 or 3, second or third in the continent in this space. But we can be even bigger if the countries around us will enable us to export our digital services. So I think really the ask was, we met also with the Ministry of ICT, but the ask from the sector would be to work more closely with your ministry, Ministry of Trade, and to have our experts taking part in the negotiations from in the discussions to put the Kenyan position, but also taking part in the negotiations at the continental level. So that would be the ask, Buenos Aires. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question will be to the gentleman. Yes, thank you.
First, I lead your disappointment, Waziri, with the Kenya private sector. Sorry? Oh, my name is Joseph Dungu from Career Options Africa, a human resource outsourcing agency in 10 African countries. Waziri, I am waiting for your reward or whatever you mentioned. I did your disappointment with the Kenya private sector, but I'm proud of it. As somebody doing business in 10 African countries, there's very little to compare in the rest of Africa. We're doing well. We're doing well. But take us to the next level. That's the challenge you all have, to take it to the next level. Waziri, it's good you went to an exhibition and there were very few African countries. I attended a coffee exhibition in South Africa last year. There was only one Kenyan company. But Tanzania, as small as it is in their coffee sector, there was no representation of the private sector, but the Tanzania government had the coffee product from about 20 companies in Tanzania. Most of them very, very small companies. So it's true, go there with your big delegation, but also what is it you could have done to enable a small Kenyan company to participate in that exhibition? Waziri, it's good, you're doing a good job. We all appreciate it. But as we say, let's be honest with each other. Our expectation on this side is 10 times more than what you're doing. And we are demanding it. Industrial parks, you've mentioned it, you're doing so many. Ethiopia came here to benchmark. I kindly ask you, go see the Ethiopian leather trade park, which is also an export promotion center. Kindly check with Ethiopia what they had done before they did that park about the leather value chain. From training a small farmer, usichape ng'ombe, don't beat your cow, you're destroying the leather, to how to process leather from the small village, collection centers for leather, to how to get the leather to that industrial park. We can have so many parks, but there'll be nothing if you don't train that Kenyan farmer, that Kenyan small producer, how to benefit from that park. Tea, coffee, we produce the best. Go to the rest of the country, who produces that tea, coffee? Big multinational companies. Who produces the best coffee in Kenya? My mother, as illiterate as she is, she produces the best coffee in the world. Sri Lanka, go check what Sri Lanka is doing about their tea sector, the kind of incentives they are giving their tea sector, most of which benefits large multinational companies. Waziri, Vimaosha here. If you increase the price of Kenya coffee in the international market by 20 shillings, Vimaosha, your cooking oil will have bigger market in Kenya. Our ability to buy it. I've listened to the big debate about all this taxation debate we've been having here, about the housing fund. What is our best low-flying fruit in our changing this country? 80% of our Kenya is in the rural market, is in the rural sector of Kenya, in rural areas of Kenya. 80% of Kenya are working in agricultural sector. What is it in that budget? What is it, Waziri, you're doing about taking Kenyan coffee to the international market? And we are able to take it. Russia giving us fertilizer, is it the best gift they can give us? No. It is buying Kenyan coffee and tea. We've seen countries give what you call preferential or special status to certain countries. Why don't we have special status for all these multinational, big countries that want to do business with us? But one of the conditions is buy more coffee from Kenya, buy more tea from Kenya.
I'll ask you to just wrap it up so that
Thank
we'll...
you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your passionate...
Lastly, that farmer in Kenya, the best dairy cow you'll see in Africa is not in the big agricultural farms as you see in the rest of the world. The best dairy cow in Kenya you'll see today is in your home county. Your mother has one of the best dairy cows in Kenya. What are you doing for her?
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Mr. Langat and then Mr. Maru.
My name is Dr. Langat. I'm a board member today for Kepsa. Waziri, welcome for coming. Mine purely is to react to your people not accompanying you to an exhibition in Korea. I think the main challenge is this. There's no communication between your office and old Kepsa or Chamber of Commerce. What happens is there should be a clear channel between your office and these members. If I can ask these members whether anybody knew that there was a trip to Korea, maybe put your hands up. If you knew there was a trip between the president and the minister, put your hands up. You can see, Waziri, there's laxity between communication from your office and the Kepsa and Chamber of Commerce that needs to be done quickly. Even if you ask these people, do they know where your office is? I'm sure they don't know. 50% or 60% don't know your office. So we should develop a relationship between your office by opening a desk for them in your office that they can reach immediately and have their issues and communicate when there's an opportunity to take these people for overseas trips. I remember I went to America for a trip with the president. There was no members represented from Kepsa or Chamber of Commerce. So I believe there should be clear opening where you have a calendar of the year. When people are traveling abroad, when the president is going, Kepsa or Chamber of Commerce should be able to be informed for planning purpose for the members. The second thing, you mentioned about the investment in this country. These people are big investors in this country, Waziri. And I'm happy you're opening doors for us. We are ready to invest in this country. We are serious investors. Let's not even look for outside investors. The investors are here. Give them an opportunity. Create opportunity where they meet with you, not on this forum like today, where you are asking them, can you invest in this sector of industrialization within the counties? They are able. Create money, create friendly funding for them, and they will invest in this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Langat. Mr. Maru, and then we could take the microphone to that side and we'll come across. So start with Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. I actually forgot that you've got to respond. Sorry, sir. Over to you, CS. Before you speak, okay, James, you can speak and then back to you.
All right, mine is very short, actually. First of all, is to applaud the coming together of Kepsa and KNCCI. That journey, Waziri, you know, we started a long time ago. Was it KNCCI? But I think now, with this coming together, I see a ray of great hope in this whole private sector conversation. But Waziri, as I do so, I also want to buttress what Dr. Langata said, that information is everything. If we are able to communicate with the business community, we plan around what government is doing, I think it will be easy to get big delegations. I know one time when I was the vice president of the chamber, I took about 160 businessmen to China with the President Uhuru because we had prior information and businesses were able to plan accordingly to support you. Finally, I think the messaging that comes from this country is so disjointed. We seem to speak about very different countries, that when Kepsa speaks, KNCCI speaks, CAM speaks, FKE, everybody else. I'm representing the Micro and Small Enterprises Authority, where we also have our own message. So is it possible, Bonaziri, to put one message that goes across the whole country, that when a delegation leaves this country, they're speaking about pretty much the same messaging? What is our priority? What are the areas we're looking at? How would we want to fix this problem? After all, when we go out there, we hunt as one country. There is no government and private sector. We are one people, one country. And finally, my plea to all of us and the government is to buy Kenya and build Kenya and walk that talk. Because for a long time, we've just said it. It's been a mantra that has been used, but we haven't practiced it. I wish we can have a proactive statement from government supporting the EPZs that are producing, just produces overcapacity and sells it to Kenya. I bought some jeans in Dubai, which were looking very nice, but they are made in Kenya. I bought it in Dubai for top dollar.
And they're made
Thank
in
you very
Kenya,
much.
not but. Thank you, Mr. Maria. Over to you, CS, to respond.
Let me, before I respond, James is telling us, I bought very nice jeans, but they were made in Kenya. Come on. Why the but? You see already, you start with that mentality. That, hey, how can these jeans be nice and it's made in Kenya? By the way, Calvin Crane, every other brand that you get out there just will tell you that Jordan is made here right in Kenya. We can't do it. But let me ask, I don't know if Dr. Shiko is in the house. Yeah? Maybe you pass microphone to Dr. Shiko. There was a question from Liquid Telecom gentleman about the AFCFTA digital protocol and what Kenya is doing in that respect. Maybe Dr. Shiko.
Thank you, Waziri. So, in the past 3 weeks, the Kenyan government has brought...
Maybe you introduce yourself first.
Okay. So, my name is Dr. Shiko Gitao. I'm currently supporting the CS on matters ICT and investment in the country. As I was saying, in the last 3 weeks, we have brought in private sector from across the globe, but also from Kenya in the ICT sector, also countries from across Africa, to have a dialogue around the digital trade protocol that is being currently negotiated by the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat. On 30th of May, we actually had a good dialogue with more than 200 people and participants that brought everybody. We have a position paper that is called the Nairobi Dialogue. On Tuesday, and thanks Ben for coming, we had a meeting with the Ministry of ICT to just look at the paper to see if it's a position that the Kenyan government can actually take up. And the Ministry of ICT did agree to take up some of that with just additional edits, which we have done and should be ready by tomorrow. We're also talking with the chief negotiator for the Kenyan government to be able to have some of these conversations going forward into the free trade agreement negotiation. Thanks to the CS who has been driving this and has supported us on this. If you have any questions in the ICT sector, please chat with me. Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Shiko. So what we are seeing is the digital space, ICT, is our gold, is our diamond, is our uranium, is our oil. So we may not have these natural resources. But as a country, we have identified the tech sector, the digital sector, the virtual job sector, is one of our key drivers for growth. And so within AFCFTA, Kenya has volunteered and offered to be the champion. We are on the final stages of finalizing this digital protocol, and because of so many tech companies, global tech companies, which are based here, we are working with all, name it, with Amazon, with Google, with Meta Group, and we have offered with Microsoft, and thanks Brenda for AmCham for, this is one of our output from AmCham, from our D room from AmCham, where we agree that Kenya is the African champion for the tech space. So we are volunteering to bring together the entire continent to talk about the digital protocol, to talk about data mobility, to talk about all the issues you saw in this finance bill. We have removed the restriction on foreign ownership in the data space. Before, there's a guy called Simiu who told me that he's graduated from JKUAT with a BIT. So I asked him, so what is your ambition? And he told me that his ambition is to be the local partner for Elon Musk because of the 30%. So he wanted to be the local partner for SpaceX. And I told him, Simiyu, look for another struggle for yourself. It is not going to happen. And now, can you imagine somebody thinking that they are going to be the local partner for Google? It's not possible. It's madness, honestly. So we have now put that change in the finance bill, whereby, and this is going to lead to massive explosion in terms of data hosting and data centers and all this, because now it is complete. You can have, Google can come here, AWS, they want to set up a data center. I've given them land in Naivasha, free land, to set up the biggest data center in Africa, because we want to take leadership on these things. And because, looking at our just example on M-Pesa, can you imagine that we don't even appreciate ourselves? $1 billion of transaction pass through M-Pesa every day. 5 million businesses are powered by M-Pesa, transacting 81 million transactions on a daily basis. If M-Pesa was an independent company, it, guesstimates praise it around 25 billion US dollars in terms of value. But the valuation of M-Pesa as an independent company, which is much higher than Stripe and all these companies. So here in there lies our gold. And we need to do everything to support the digital, to support BPO, to support remote work, and we are taking every step. And I want to ask the gentleman from Liquid Telecom, we need to do it right here. Liquid Telecom, we are now rolling out 100,000 kilometers of fiber. How much of that will be done on fiber manufactured here? So as we do this, let us also use it to build our own manufacturing capabilities, right here. But to answer your question, I think Dr. Chico has said it clearly in terms of what we are doing in terms of leadership. In terms of promoting our product out there, what we are doing, that exhibition in South Africa, why we were not doing enough exposure. Let me now invite the man whom I have given that responsibility to place our products on the shelves of all markets. And he seems to be doing a fantastic job because you've just appointed him to be your chair. But just Betty, as a chair of the Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency, please answer the question to these people, not me.
Thank you, Waziri, for throwing me in the deep end. But yes, we are transforming ourselves. The Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agents, as you all know, is a merger between Brand Kenya and EPC. And now we have got a new transformative journey. You must have all seen, we're looking for a new team, we're looking for a new CEO, because the course has changed. Our new course requires new horses. And for that, we got a whole new management team. Yesterday, I had the honor to sit with the chair of the Marketing Society of Kenya to see how can we work together. So we're looking at transforming our business model, transforming our ethos, and trying to create something which is a dream that the minister shared with me as soon as he was inaugurated, that we want to, let's call it rebrand Keproba to be called KITA. KITA is a Kenya International Trade Agency. It's going to be modeled around KOTRA and all these big groups that we actually take you to the marketplace. We will have warehouses across the continent. On the continent of Africa, we're looking at about 20 warehouses. We will take your goods to the marketplace. We'll take you to the watering hole, but you need to drink the water. We can't drink that water for you. So this is going to be a massive transformation the way we're doing business, and not only in the continent of Africa, beyond the continent of Africa. The plan is to do 50 warehouses. We will take the master lease, give you a sublease, so no cost to government, but we will take your products to the marketplace and we'll create a whole ecosystem around that. We've talked to the Kenya Association of Manufacturers that we will be able to club their manufactured goods in a container that's leaving to Goma or Lubumbashi next Friday. So you don't even need to fill the full 40-foot container. We'll have 10 or 15 or 20 exporters putting their goods into that container. The container makes its way through to one of these bonded facilities. And whatever sells, sells. What doesn't sell, we can even bring it back. So there's a whole new business model, a whole new way of thinking. It's no longer doing the same thing and expecting different results. My KPI is very clear. By 2030, exports need to equal imports. Right now, we have the largest amount of balance of trade in Kenya's history. Last year, it was $15 billion. We exports are about average $6 billion, and our imports have used to be an average $16 billion. The balance of trade between import and export used to be about $10 billion. During COVID, it went down to $8 billion because we actually imported less. Post-COVID 21, it went to 18 billion, and now last year $21 billion. And the pressure on the Kenya shilling is because we are importing a lot more and exporting a lot less. So the correction that you saw on the Kenya shilling to 130, 140 is our own doing. We're not exporting enough, but we are importing to cater for our needs. So I think, like the minister said, we need to change that paradigm shift. We need to upside down the pyramid and let's start exporting more so that we can start seeing stability. And the Kenya Kwanza plan, the plan is simple, export-led growth. And that mandate has been given to me, and it's a tall order that I will deliver. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Let me say this. Effective from Tuesday next week, when we pass the finance bill, if you still insist, when, not if, we pass the finance bill, if you insist on importing products that can be manufactured here locally, I am a very happy person. I actually encourage you to import. Because I need money to do the following things. I need money to help Just Betty to set up the Kenya International Trade Agencies all over the world. Flora, in December, I was in South Africa, November, and I met some of the people who are taking your tea. There was a certain lady there who is distributing Melvin tea in South Africa. Do you know where the meeting between me and Flora's person was? It was in the embassy in Pretoria. No, for crying out loud. What business happens in Pretoria? So I want to take our commercial relations with other countries out of our embassies. So when you go to any country, don't look for the embassy. You don't need it. Leave the embassy to talk about diplomacy, war, and guns. Our commercial agencies will be about business. That is your space. And I want to work with Kepsa, I want to work with the chamber to roll out these agencies together. So that when you go to a country, say, I am in Dubai today, your first port of call should be the Kenya Commercial Office in Dubai. Where is, there's this guy, this supermarket, they want this customer, they want that. So my first objective, which I've given just, is to roll out these commercial offices all over the world. Because now we have got only one embassy in the US, in DC, and one consulate in LA. And of course we have our UN mission in New York. But US is a huge economy. So why can't we go to Florida and you find the Kenya commercial office in Florida where you can be able to sell your tea and coffee? That's what I want to do. Two, on the issue of aggregation, you have got your quarter of a container. Somebody else have got their 2 trucks. Unless we create a logistical infrastructure that enables us to aggregate, one, locally, which is what I want to do with our county industrial park, but most important for the people in this room, internationally. And I've told just within the next 3 months, I want a Kenya house in Lubumbashi, in Goma, in Bunia, in Kinshasa, in Dubai, and in South Africa, and in Nigeria, in Lagos, to start with. So that when you have got your tea, your coffee, your whatever product, you don't need to have a buyer in that country. Please simply go and place your goods into that warehouse, and then selling in that country will be a domestic affair in that particular country. And I've already inked agreement with all those countries. So everywhere you go, expect you'll find a Kenya commercial office to do your promotion. Two, if you can be able to sell yourself to those markets, please feel free. Use our commercial office. But for the SMEs in the house, you don't need to have a passport for you to sell in the United Kingdom. Because using our warehouses, you can be able to place your goods there, and we sell using our commercial offices there. We sell it on a local basis. I think February, is it February? I was with Bimal here. DL, you say I'm not inviting people. So I went with Bimal to the UK, and we visited the market, the fresh market in, it's called Spitalfield. And Bimal was so inspired by what we saw. He's put together the foundation, the Asian network, who are putting up a replica of Spitalfield here in a place called Sokomjinga. And thank you, Bimal, for that and for your network. They are putting together a market there, and I'm working with the UK government. In the Spitalfield market, we have got 110 traders. In Sokomjinga, which will now be known as Sokomwerevu, I am putting together 110 traders. So every trader in Spitalfield will have somebody they are mentoring in Sokomjinga, so that we can have that kind of linkages. So let us help our people also, because your work can be will be very easy, because using this local aggregation and foreign aggregation, we can be able to take far. But now the question is, between my markets, between my industrial parks, between the foreign offices, and between the warehouses that I'm building out there, where do I get the money within our restricted fiscal space? Where I get the money, I want to encourage you from next Tuesday, please import all the steel you can, because I will get 17% off you to do all that. Please import all the paper you have, because I've got a 17% levy to implement that. I highly encourage you to import paint, because I will get 17% off you to do the export. So as I said, I am going to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. And that's why the finance bill must pass, because I am using those resources from people who insist to do the wrong things to do the right things. Call it a Robin Hood movement. Yeah? I'll hit your pocket. If you insist on continuing importing, please, by all means, go ahead. But I'll take some money from you to build commercial offices, to build the warehouses, to build the Spitalfield market, and all that. And in doing this, we are following what we call a value chain approach. We have identified 5 to 6 7 value chains. We were here last week with the president on our coffee, on our tea, on our leather, on our edible oils, on our textile, all the things that if you are in these value chains, including leather, and I want to agree with Mr. Ndongo on this issue of leather. Leather is one sector where we have done badly, terribly. And I want to tell you that in this budget, I have put 1.7 billion shillings to complete the Kenani Leather Park and revive all the other abattoirs and create a complete value chain for leather. So the next bag, the next Gucci bag is going to come from a place called Kenani, right here in Kenya. And I am very certain we are going to dominate the leather and leather products in Kenya. Finally, before I take it back to Brenda, is DL. It's true. There has been a communication breakdown. But when you call yourself a chairman of this and that, I call you, you only bring your cronies to my missions. What can I do now? What can I do? Let's now have a new chapter. I'm very, very pleased with the gentleman on my left, who is the true representative of PPP. He's my chairman of all our exports from government, and he's now your chairman. So, musinilaumu tena. You have made the right decision because Jazz Betty is right here in government with me. All those questions, Murize. This gentleman here, I have told him, protectionism there's no time for protectionism. Because what are we protecting now? We have no economy, what calling an economy compared to the possibilities. I told Jazz yesterday, and I told Eric, do not be like two bald-headed men fighting over hair comb. You don't need it. Because you don't need you have no hair, both of you. So fighting over hair comb is useless. So I want to say that I want to work with the chamber, and I want to work with, and really work within your sectors. We will find some way. You know, where there is will, there is way. And me, I fully commit myself and the government of Kenya to working with Kepsa, to working with the chamber, to find a sustainable way for which, because if I am working with chamber and Kepsa, I am even going to gain some weight, kidogo. Because you do my job. Right now, what I'm doing, DL, it's your job. It's not my job. Thank you. And by the way, just to mention, two people in this, in December, I gazetted the National Investment Council, which is chaired by the president, to bring your issues to government on a continuous basis. David here is my member. I have seen Eva. Where is Eva? Eva, I also appointed Eva Warigia. She's a member of the National Investment Council. So we have now a forum to engage with the president, and we do it every month. So using that National Investment Council also is another forum for you to be able to bring your issues. So we are actually ahead of you. Sorry, Brenda.
No, thank you. CS, I want to also be mindful of your schedule. So I want to know, are you open for another round of questions?
What you need to do is just let's get some time. We can do lunch break, then we can continue after lunch also. I don't know what time it is. I am here all day if you want to be here all day. This is the economy. I want, from here we get away forward in terms of how we can be able to drive this country forward. Thank you.
Let's do one more round, sir. We can do one more round if that's okay. And I'll let Dr. Eric speak. But may I ask that we're all very mindful of each other so we keep it short and crisp, okay? Now, Dr. Ruto, please, you wanted to say
just 1 minute. I want to appreciate and maybe acknowledge the presence of our Chamber Vice President, Mr. Ramadan Mustafa. Maybe you can stand so that they can see you. He's the immediate former chairman from Mombasa chapter, and he's an exporter of coffee tea. So he's a part of the people that will benefit from Keproba. Thank you very much. So thank you very much. I also want to appreciate James Mureu, who was the immediate former Chamber Vice President, and he's the one who left to me. He was my predecessor. So thank you very much. I also want to acknowledge the presence of Patrick Obath, who has been our trustee of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce. Thank you very much. And our patron member, D.L. Lagat, the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce. So I think now we are conjoined twins between Kepsa and KNCCI. But to respond very quickly, CS about the private sector in Kenya. From where I come from in my sector, sometimes we have some diseases called kwashiorkor and marasmus, and I hope I'm not going to be medical. Maybe we might, the disappointment we're having, and you're having as a minister, as a government, and you've said you've been 7 months ahead of us, is that we might be suffering from those two medical conditions. The worst thing you can do is to go outside and sire and ask to be helped to sire children. When those children go, they run away. So can we prescribe the right medicine for the Kenyan private sector? And secondly, on the issues of trade missions, especially high-level ones, we have attended several of them. The issue, and mainly, sometimes you might see us as builders, is that this private sector would not want to travel, and they are not given proper accreditation and recognition. I remember I participated in 3 presidential trade missions, one in Russia. Very unfortunate, the president arrived in their private jets, had his meeting. We had fantastic private sector who would be able to match. I don't know whether Jasbed, you are there. In that event, the private sector of Kenya never had an opportunity to meet with the president and the private sector of that country. Yet, the president met the private sector equally. We're in France, it happened again. And actually, the French people were saying, how come your president is not accompanying you for the meetings? Your government, we went to the US. I know there were individual forums with the private sector of Kenya. So sometimes, and we've been asked by our members, we just don't want to go and stay in the 5-star hotels. We want to be given proper accreditation and proper respect by government by having organized meetings. In fact, they say before they travel, they must know who they are going to meet on the other side. So for government, we're going to talk and discuss about it. But as the private sector, we promise we will give you solutions, especially on issues of investment, the industrial parks. DL was the first special economic zone investor in Kenya. You're talking about 15. I don't know how far he has gone for UCS to say you are bringing 15 other international special economic zone investors in Kenya. I think we should be able to support first our own before we go outside as a country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now to Lee Karuri to ask a question. And can we have a mic come to this side of the room? There's, I believe there's some from Dr. Kakome here, and then we'll come round. Okay. So first to you, Lee. And remember, please, to be respectful, let's be short and
Yeah. Thank you. CS, thank you, Lee Karuri, trustee at Kepsa, and very good to see you again here. We were here in the meeting for the economic dialogue, which was a very good one. You invited us when the president was here, as you said, and the challenge was to think around value chains, where jobs can be created, to think about the counties, and to think where production can happen. And that conversation was challenging and very, very insightful. So we have an initiative by private sector called the Fintranet, Finance, Trade and Investment Network, that is a co-creation among ourselves. And from that kind of challenge, we've taken a step in Laikipia County. You told us to be in the counties. In fact, that meeting challenged us. We had a meeting with the governor of Laikipia, based on the discussions you're already having with the governors. And they have picked the meat value chain as one of their priority value chains. And we actually took an investor there who is interested to look at meat and leather, Laikipia County. We met Governor Irongo. Now, the convener for this meeting, and that's why it's critical for you to give us a guidance, said that they have found a good market in China for meat starting as a product. And they found that in China, they have got what they are calling the National Pavilion, which is for showcasing products from a country in Beijing. So far, only South Africa in Africa and Zambia have the pavilions. So they have done a letter. The organizers who came with us to Laikipia County have done a letter to your office requesting your office to give accreditation for Kenya to also have a pavilion similar to South Africa and Zambia, to model where we can showcase our products in Beijing, both physical and virtual. And this is a great opportunity. The letters are already in your office, and I believe that maybe now Jazz and the CS is here, we work together. And the investor, therefore, is ready to continue with the engagement to prepare for this meat value chain and leather at the same time. So I wanted to say that in addition to the export of the meat, there is the opportunity for Kenya to open up into the Beijing pavilion. And this has already been challenged for us to structure talks through your office. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Now we'll go to Dr. Gakome, and then the mic on this side to Liz Kimkum, and then we'll come over to Dr. Wala, and then we'll go to the next.
Thank you. 3 quick points. The first one, the world has a shortage of nurses and healthcare workers. So as Kenya thinks about export, we need to seriously pay attention to exporting skilled labor to other parts of the world. And the health sector has a big role to play in this. The second is, I'm glad you told us you're our champion. So to your job, I wish to add one more parameter: debt collection. For us to thrive, we need money. A lot of that money is in government, especially for us in the healthcare. It is important that 2 things happen. A, that there are no commitments when there is no money, so that we can get our money. And secondly, that the debt is bankable. Because if we've served NHIF and other institutions, and the banks are not sure whether we'll ever get paid, then we can't get financing, working capital financing, to help us bridge the gap as we wait for the money. So it's important that that gets addressed, because capital is the fuel that keeps business moving. Thirdly, it is critical that as the trips are organized, the lead time, I've seen a couple of invitations, but it wasn't in time to organize visas and all those things that Kenyans need to travel out of country. So if the lead times are good enough, then you are likely to see much greater response than you have now. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm really going to ask the next people maximum 2 points, to be fair. Ms. Kum. Did you get a mic?
Thank you, Brenda. CS, good afternoon. Oh, is it so? Good morning. Thank you very much. My point is you have to create awareness. CS, you came for our AmCham summit. You had something called a deal book. I think you should do it with Kepsa, KAM, and KNCC. That way you will not miss any company that does not have an address. Because I'm shocked to say that you had companies that were not addressed. Where were they coming from? Which means you didn't tap into this market, which is readily available. As a private sector person, I think the cost of power and taxation, CS, although we want the finance bill to go through, look at the taxation if you say you're indeed a partner of the private sector, because that is what is making companies really move to the neighboring countries to start up, because it's too expensive to run factories, especially manufacturers, in this country. When you say you don't have companies that have presence in more than 10 countries, I beg to differ. I know people sitting here. We are one of them. So indeed, if you work closely with Kepsa again, KM and KNCC, you'll be able to get all these people, create space in your office for a private sector to engage. I think I agree with my brother, David Lagat, Kongoi, that you should do that to enable us address things directly and for you to get better results. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And the last question in this round is Dr. Wala in this round, and then we'll have a final round to help the CS manage his time as well. Dr. Wala.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Wala. I'm here representing SMEs. And I think I just wanted to find out if there's a one-stop shop for SMEs who want to go into manufacturing. I found out CAM requires you to already be in production. So I also got to know there are quite a number of government agencies, KIRDI and KEBS and whatnot, and you have to go to each of them to really get information on manufacturing. And this is manufacturing at a large scale, so it's not manufacturing in terms of testing a product that needs to go to market. So I am one of those who's coming from a karai. As you mentioned, the bathtubs, mine is a karai, but I'm coming into the swimming pool. The other question was very quick from the Education Sector Board. They wanted to know, one person wanted to know whether we are considering being using education or intellectual and social capital as enabler towards trade and investment. So like using the London Triangle, which has Cambridge and the other two universities. So whether we have any plans to work with the Education Sector Board so that we harness the intellectual property that we have within our citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you. CS.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Let me start with the on the China visit. As I've said, I am not Jesus, so I'll carry only my sins. The ones for just Betty will carry for himself. So just please on this. I think it is November. Is it November, Lee? It is November. China government have invited me, and I want to confirm to you that I'll be in that expo in China myself, because the China government has all over. But in terms of organizing private sector, just now you know what you need to do in terms of inviting the private sector. Now, a very interesting point on the human capital. Yes, I agree with you, Dr. Ali, on the human capital. It is Germany alone, and the president is very, very particular. Now we get remittances, just remittances of $3 billion every year from the diaspora. And it is the objective of our government to move that to $10 billion in terms of remittances. So it is in our interest to send more and more people there. We are negotiating some very serious agreements with Germany, with Canada, with some of the Gulf states. The US at any one time has a shortage of 1 million nurses. Can you imagine that? 1 million nurses. So on top of the export of goods and services, the issue of human capital is right in there. And I think you mentioned also the issue of paying bills. And I wish Carol was here. Because I worked in the last parliament with Kepsa and KM on the issue of, I think, Bimal, we did a lot of work together on my pending bills legislation, which unfortunately didn't see the light of the day. And I'm still there, that we need to have a legislation that we are not going to have money to pay people all the time. But if I don't pay you for whatever reason, I should give you an instrument that you can be able to monetize. Yeah? So that, you know, that can be a financial instrument. And I want to assure you that I'll work on that line. I will still push that one to ensure that if any government department owes you money, they can't pay. One, we need to declare that debt as part of our debt reporting in terms of our fiscal deficit. Because right now it's undeclared. It's the biggest, we have got 3 to 4% of our GDP in terms of pending bills. That's not acceptable. It's even more unacceptable that that is not reported anywhere, and it is a case what I call poor people lending to rich people. By all means, government is richer than you. Is there anyone here who is richer than government? So pending bills represents the biggest form of poor people lending to rich people, because it is the individual who suffers that. And I want to commit myself to commit on that. But specifically on the health sector, it is my feeling, and I'm talking to my counterpart from health, that because of the importance of the health sector, this is what happens today. So we are now going to pass something called division of revenue. So we'll give the money to the counties, and then the counties will pass something called, also in the Senate, something called county allocation of revenue, CARA bill, and then now the counties will also pass their own appropriation within the counties. So now money comes from national government to county government, let's say for example for commodities, for medicines and all that. So that money goes to county of Kitui. Then Kitui takes the same money and returns to national government. Yeah, in terms of Kepsa, for example. And I've been having this discussion with the control of budget. Why do you give money to counties for counties to give you back? Isn't that very ineffective? So we are working on a mechanism where issues of health, Kepsa, for example, will have a first charge on money that is going to counties as part of shareable revenue. So that younger people call it kukata kwa mita. So we are going to deduct this money at source so that you don't have to send this money to the counties and then expect the counties to bring it back. And of course, you know, we appreciate, we have got huge issues around NHIF, and we are going to reform NHIF. We are reforming NHIF. Just now that you are in charge, I want to ask you to work. I'm going to put a mechanism for Kepsa and Minister of Health to work together in that reform process, because I think also you have got, you know, something to contribute to that. Now, in terms of working together, the other question, and I think somebody has said we do the deal book here locally, not just wait for those people. I agree. And I have offered Just Betty space for Kepsa in my office. Yeah? And I'm offering you, Daktari, an embassy of chamber in my office. Yeah? A physical space. Yeah? So that, and by the way, I am putting up our one-stop center, a new one, and I want us to have that deal book, my sister. I want to have monthly engagement inside the one-stop center. Yeah? Starting from the month of August. So August, you are welcome to my one-stop center for the first monthly deal room, where I tell you, this is what I have, these are the deals we have, these are the opportunities we have, who are the takers. But it's called a deal room, not a talk room. So please don't come if it's for talking. Just come if it's for deals. Yeah? So this will be monthly. And by the way, the one-stop center that I'm going to start there is not for me, it's for you. Even you can feel free to come with your partners and just let me find Lee Karori there in my one-stop center and ask Lee, what are you doing here? Or I had this guest from China and we felt we should be in a government office. So it's a government business hotel for you to be able to fraternize and to, you know, because we can move so many things. If this meeting is not an annual general meeting, let it be a monthly general meeting, yeah, where we meet, see where we have come from, see what you can be able to exchange. I believe that we can be able to resolve so many of these issues. And SME, the Karai person, yeah, that is why exactly I want to set up in that one-stop center. I'm going to have an SME hub, and all the government agencies that are involved in the SME, because I know today we have Kenya Industrial Estates, we have Mureu here with his MSMEs, I have my Kenya Development Corporation, I have the Hustler Fund. So within the one-stop center, I'm also going to have SME hub. I don't need to be there. it will be functional all the time. Yeah, so please feel free there. You want financing, you want technical support, you want linkage to market. The SME hub is where you need to come to be linked to finances, to be linked to technical support, and to be linked to markets. I think I have answered that, but let me answer about power. Power, cost of power, because I know this is an elephant in the room. And I agree with you, something needs to be done about power. Our power is just too expensive. And I want to say that I've been talking with my counterpart from energy. One, on our special economic zones, at least the public ones. And I know DL is fighting me because he thinks that I am baguaing, I'm discriminating the private ones. But at least give me some heckle. At least on the public SEZs, I have gazetted 10 US cents, which is close to half of what ordinary Kenyans pay within our public special economic zones and our EPZ. And I think going forward, we can actually have this discussion on how can we make this incentive available to as much of industry as possible. It's a work in progress. Two, on the issue of captive power, I am encouraging you, industry. Why would you want me to give you cheaper power? You generate your power and give me. I will buy. And I want to challenge any of you who want to generate power for your own uses. One, come to my office, I will make it happen within 7 days. Within 7 days, if you want to go captive power route. Two, if you have excess power from that captive power arrangement, we are putting in a place mechanism for net metering, where you can be able to sell to the grid for your excess power. Three, I want to ask all of you to join us next week. Kenya is hosting for the first time the Africa Energy Forum. You know our energy is 92% green, and I want to see a situation where we have oversupply of power. Because it is a simple law of economics 101, that if you have oversupply, price should come down. So this issue of treating power purchase agreements like it's a privilege, it's not a privilege. I'm going to ensure that power purchase agreement is available for everybody. Now, it should not be a privilege for some few. Because by making it a privilege for some few, that is why supply is low. That is why if supply is low, the price is high. And I want to see new entrants in our power sector, in our generation sector. I'm talking to a lot of investors on renewable energy who are coming not only with their money, but also on a cost saving, on cost efficiency in terms of our generation. We need to disrupt that space, and I'm very ripe to it. But before I go to look for those foreign partners, let me also say that we work with Kepsa to also share with you and the investors who want to come into this power space. Please generate, and let's bring down the power. Generate for yourself, generate for the grid. Let's have more and more. By the way, in December, if there was a serious challenger to President Ramaphosa, we could have a different story in South Africa on the basis of power only. In South Africa today, you cannot have this kind of conversation without generators making noise. And you know what is happening there. A whole country, a whole economy, a whole government stands at the risk of collapsing because of the issue of power. And that will not happen in this government. That's why we want to ensure that we take steps to increase supply, to lower the cost of energy, and to ensure that energy does not become the impediment towards our economic takeoff. Thank you, Brenda.
We'll now go to the last round of questions. Okay. Just hold on. Do we have the mic? over there.
Mike is already here. Now, let me just ask.
Okay, you have the mic there.
Yeah.
So let's just be very mindful. You've seen how many hands. If you take too long, you're going to make sure somebody else does not ask a question.
I have only 2 points. Thank you, Buenos CS. I think you are flanked by 3 of my bosses, Madam Flora, Dr. Eric, and Mr. Jasbedi. The Nyamira Integrated Agro-Industrial Park, I want to confirm, is a reality. And thank you, Waziri, for mentioning it. I'm the economic advisor to the governor. And yes, we are inviting you to come and invest in our 260 acres in Nyamira. So, mnione kando, karibu sana. Secondly, I want to talk about, there have been issues about the Kenya National Development Program. When I was your officer, we used to do it annually, and it used to be circulated to the members so that they are able to know when we have an event. And I think that is very important if it is shared, because when I was the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, surely there was a disconnect on how we get information. We'll get a report that there is a delegation to accompany the president a day before or 2 days before. It becomes very difficult, and I think that is something that can be worked on. Thank you. That is what I want to say for now.
Thank you. Please, no, excuse me. I want us to go in a way that we'd aligned. So let's bring the mic to this side, please. We'll start there and then to this table. Yes. And I think there are 4 hands on this table. Then we'll take it back to you. Let's just be fair to the hands that had been risen. Yes.
My name is John Serone. I am a coffee farmer and also a coffee exporter. I want to explore what the change of name from Kepropa to KITA, that is Kenya International Trade Agency, that actually will give an opportunity for SMEs to showcase their product in Kenya House in various, countries. And I have only 2 questions. One is to the president of Chamber of Commerce, and probably, I don't know in Kepsa whether you call it the president or the chairman, on the issue of agreements. When agreements are being signed, I saw it, I was in Russia together with the current president. We wish that, the SMEs and the business people on this side can be involved when those agreements are being drafted, so that, in the event that the issue of tariffs, tariffs for value-added products from Kenya, they are slightly higher. So if possible, the issue of tariffs can be looked into, so that even when the bilateral agreements are being signed, you can also request the other countries, take for instance Turkey, to export tea to Turkey, the taxes there, they 145% for anything coming from outside. So if those things can be actually factored in, so that, the things that you are signing, it is actually coming from the private sector. And number 2, to our sister who has been quite silent, Florence Mutai, we wish to actually, onboard our products, especially tea, coffee, on Amazon. What are some of the standards, in terms of packaging and, design that we need to have, so that our products can be onboarded on Amazon? And the last one is on the issue of, we have some importers or some of the partners in Russia. There is a big challenge when it comes to payment. I know some exporters from Uganda, they are selling their roasted coffee to Russia. So how are they being paid? So for us, we have been getting some requests from them, and we are fearing to engage with them because of the issue of payment. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, and then the 2 gentlemen behind you. So maybe the mic can go to the same table.
Good afternoon. Buenos CS. Very happy for you to actually be here with us today on the AGM of Kepsa. My name is Zuhura Odhiambo, standing in as the elected 3 weeks ago, the chair of the Marketing Society of Kenya. Of course, elated to state in this room that we are the force behind business. And I'm happy that you have had the experience outside
where we are planning or still exporting our goods out there, and as we push Buy Kenya, Build Kenya, how is our brand? It was good to have a meeting yesterday with the Keproba team, of course with the chair and the rest of the team, in just the conversations that we had around how do we ensure that our brand out there, the brand of all the exporters, the brand of the SMEs are actually standardized. So that when you have it out there, somebody would actually say, that is a Kenyan brand. I've been privileged to work on Brand AC, and I've seen how South Africa is very excited to always put down their brand to be the one thing that opens doors for them. So the conversations we had yesterday, you'll be happy to know that we are looking at a lot of conversation that will work together with the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce as well. Of course, Kepsa executing a lot of the conversation on the brand. Some of our exporters do not even, as you say, they didn't even have business cards. Did they know the conversation starts from the business card? And how has it been as a representation of Kenya? And that is why the role of the Marketing Society of Kenya is to ensure that we are enabling the excitement of the conversion of the business across the world. And also to let you know that also we will be doing this also with the public service, from how it looks internally to their business cards, to their emails that are not Gmail, to how they are able to represent us in every other way. But better still, scaling up and skilling our SMEs to be able to know how are they able to package even the cottage industries, how is their brand looking, and anything that's being exported as well, which tag will it be having? We have a very good representation of the signage for Brand Kenya that we hope and we are pushing to ensure that it's the mark that you see on all exports that would actually be out of this country. Happy that you've had the experience at the Expo, and our conversation yesterday with Mr. Jazz as well was on the Expo. We are seeing the Intra-Africa Trade Fair that's going to happen in Egypt that is actually sponsored by the Afri-Exim Bank. That is, and I'm happy that we're having Professor Ndungu representing us with Afri-Exim Bank. How are we able to ensure that people can scale up their businesses and be able to export further with the Africa Free Trade, and ensuring that that brand speaks for itself? So it's good conversations that we have, and we'll be looking at your support across, and also working together with all CAM, Kenya National Chamber of Commerce, and of course Keproba as well, to ensure that the brand Kenya can speak for itself, and also being able to scale up all the SMEs and anyone who brings product. There has to be a standard that has to be there in how we position for our country. And thank you for your support, much appreciated.
Thank you. Behind, yes, so yes.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Major John Kipchumba. I'm the chairman, Kenya Auto Bazaar Association, and I'll just talk on the sector of motor vehicles. Bwana CSR, thank you for the information that you have given us. I'm a net importer, and I thank you for you said all importers should pay the 17% import fine or something. I think that is a good way to go, so that at the end of the day we become an exporter. What I'm looking at is the manufacture of or components for motor vehicles. That is an area which we are lacking behind. We are always advocating for assembly lines. When these assembly lines do assemble vehicles, they also import spare parts, components that we could manufacture locally. Why? The reason being, sir, currently I'm a vice chairman of a body called Informal Working Group for harmonization of standards globally. And in that, I'm representing Kenya in Geneva on used vehicles coming into Africa. Africa is importing 40% of the world used vehicles, which is the highest. And Kenya, the imports that come to Kenya are of high standard because of 8-year rule. Now, UNEP wanted the experience in Kenya replicated all over the world, so that standard of vehicles that are arriving in developing countries will be of standard. And we have had trips to West Africa to see what is happening there and comparing it to Kenya. Now, why am I advocating for this issue? There is one agreement which I pushed through Kenya Bureau of Standards called 1958 Agreement for harmonization of countries must sign that agreement for them to be manufacture parts for a vehicle which is being manufactured. Kenya is not a signatory. South Africa, Egypt, and Nigeria are signatories. So, and Kenya is advocating to be assembling or manufacturing vehicles. Could we first accede to this agreement 1958? The papers are with Kenya Bureau of Standards, and I think that one is in your docket. Could you follow it, sir, so that Kenya become part and parcel of world manufacturers, so that Kenya do not be in the menu. Kenya to be at a table where all manufacturers are manufacturing parts and components. That is my appeal to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Next gentleman, and then the last question will be over here.
Thank you. My name is Rupert Lipton. I'm a UK barrister, though I must say that I moved my family and my life to Kenya 5 years ago. So I moved from the old world to the new world, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm also a mediator, a mediation consultant, a negotiation trainer, a public speaking coach, and I know that puts me under some pressure here. And I wanted to raise two little letters which have played a very big part in our lives this year, which I thought it might be a bit of an omission for a Kepsa meeting in 2023, not to mention, you can probably guess those letters are AI. And it's a subject which I've followed for some time, not just since ChatGPT came into our awareness at the end of last year. Whilst lots of ink has been spilled on AI and large language models and what it might mean for humanity, what really alarms me is the sense that governments around the world, all governments, including world government, if you care to characterize the UN in such a way, seem to be somewhat behind the curve. So the question I want to ask on that theme to you, Honourable CS, is about the arrival of artificial intelligence in decision-making, particularly in the context of government. And just to move on to very quickly, for illustration, onto a related topic, which is autonomous vehicles. My understanding is that AV technology is ready. It's ready to go. But the problem is that we all know that AV sometimes crashes. People sometimes get injured, even killed by AV vehicles. But the truth is, if we switched the world right now to AV, there'd be an awful lot less injuries than if we trust human beings to drive vehicles. So my question is this: in how many years, and I think it's years, not months, in how many years will it be before, in Kenya, government policy decisions are actually taken by an AI rather than by humans? Thank you.
CS, you can think a little about the response to that as we get to the last question.
Thank you very much, Honorable Moses Kuria. My name is Ian Mudomi, and I'm basically the CEO of a company called Vision Drill. Vision Drill basically is an upskilling platform. We offer talent and creativity-focused courses. Actually, there are Ajira is actually one of the beneficiaries of our training programs. And in addition to that, I heard him talking about AI. We're also involved in AI. So we basically create an API. So basically an API is like a solution that businesses can integrate so that they can have the same capability as ChatGPT for their own business, but now not reliant on ChatGPT. So my question is this, basically. We are in the process of fundraising as a startup, Vision Drill. And we were called by investors in the US. The company is called started. And they even actually wrote us a letter. It was last year, around October of last year. And then when we applied for the visa like 3 months in advance. We applied for an expedited visa. And we were told that we actually have to wait until 2024. And we also have, because I have two partners in the US, our business is also registered in the US, but despite that, we could still not get the visa expedited. So we had to like cancel the appointment with investors. We couldn't get to travel and meet them. Yeah, so my question is, what are your thoughts around that, and what are you doing to solve this problem? Because other startups may be facing a similar challenge. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, CS.
I want to start from LIFO, last in, first out. I will start with Ian's question on the visas. And of course, you talk about US visa. I want to ask somebody from the American chambers to respond.
How did I know that this might happen? Thank you for that question. It definitely is a challenge. I think the US ambassador, Meg Whitman, when she came to the country, she did speak about it, and she's done a lot to move things forward. And the wait times have definitely come down, but it continues to be a challenge. What I may advise is maybe you contact the American Chamber of Commerce, so maybe we can have a chat after this, and we can see if there's anything we can do. No promises, and this is not an open invitation for everybody's US visa issues. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So you've all had the simplest way to kweda maju is to talk to Brenda. But let me say this, Brenda, I'm very passionate about this issue. I understand from the American point of view that, of course, our diplomatic relations and the consular relations are separate, and consular issues are centralized, but nonetheless, it's an important issue that you and I need to continue engaging with Meg and the American government and in all our relations. But I think that once we set up the one-stop center, Kenya Investment Authority, who is going to be the host of the one-stop center, I would prefer that you come for our letter of support from the Kenya Investment Authority. It's a way of filtering between, genuine cases and not genuine cases. And now that we have got our tripartite, which we signed in the AmCham,
yes,
between the AmCham, Kenya Invest, and the U.S. Embassy, if it can't work for this issue, then let's get away with it. Because this is one area where we are all there, Yeah. Kenya Invest is there, AmCham is there, Embassy is there. So we using that framework of the MOU that we signed, we can be able to see how we can be able to filter and give some letters of support.
I think so. Thank you,
Because even now, even when I'm going to the US, one of the reasons I go with few companies is because most of them cannot get visas on time. Yeah. And that's on a government delegation. What about if people are going on their own? And by the way, on this issue of visas, I am pushing. And I almost made it for Madaraka Day. And I'm hoping I'll make it for Jamhuri, for Mashujaa Day. I want Kenya to be the first country after Singapore to have visa on arrival for all nationalities. And I think my president is sort of convinced. I just need to convince a few more people. Because today, we have opened for Somalia, isn't it? I think Somalia have opened. Qatar, which has got 10 times GDP of Kenya, you still have to apply for a visa from Qatar for you to come to Kenya. So how can beggars be choosers? Yeah? We need tourism, we need investment, we need all this, we need trade. And I don't want to ask for the reciprocity. Because what has been happening, people are saying, okay, if you want to remove my visa requirement, remove yours first. But I think we should be the bigger people in that conversation. And I want Kenya to take the unilateral step of saying you don't need to have visa applied from your country. Simply come to JKIA, get your visa on arrival, like Singapore, like Hong Kong. Who should be keeping people away? Kibra or Hong Kong? No, surely, if Hong Kong is doing, today you don't need visa to Hong Kong. You don't need visa for Singapore. Yet those people who are much richer than us, we keep on asking for visa from them. So let us remove visa for everybody so that we can start on a higher moral pedestal when challenging other countries to do the same. And I'm gonna push that issue. I think on the issue of AI, what are you calling it? Automatic. So why do you want me to answer you? So you bring a machine to answer you. But let me attempt to answer on behalf of humans. For the time being, on behalf of humans, I'll attempt to answer. So now, before we come to the automatic one, for us the immediate issue is on electric mobility. And let me just tell you what we are doing on electric mobility. Effective from Tuesday, when the finance bill passes, not if, when the finance bill passes, any material you bring on electric mobility is going to be completely tax-free. Yeah? And that is a product of the engagement we had here just a few weeks ago with the president. You remember, for those who are there. And remember that guy, Moses Derito, he raised that question. And I am happy that the president ordered me to hijack the finance bill and ensure that that is there. So in what is passed through the second reading yesterday was on electric mobility. That all the charging units, all the EVs are now completely tax-free. More than that, we are working on a special tariff. We have now a special tariff which EPRA has gazetted on electric mobility. 16 shillings peak hours, 8 shillings off peak. I have to say I'm not happy with that. I'm still trying to bring it lower, and I'm sure I'll win that. In September, first week of September, we are going to have the first Africa Climate Summit. President Ruto is the chair of CAHOST, the Climate Action Heads of State Summit for Africa. And in that summit, we are going to roll out our mass rollout of EV, starting with border borders. As a matter of fact, from the first week of September, we are rolling out 100,000 electric border borders. The biggest rollout in the world for electric mobility. And we are working with partners. The upfront cost or the upfront investment by border is zero. So we have got a mechanism we have brought with partners where border people are going to pay $1 a day for borders. So maybe you need to think about how from September you leave your vehicle back home. Zero emission, the biggest transition. Once we work out on our recharging units and all that, we want to take leadership on this space. And we are going to set up around 3,000 to 4,000 recharging units. And that's why it was important for us to pass the law to zero rate these charging units. So Kenya, like in M-Pesa, the next big innovation for us to leapfrog over the rest of the world is on electric mobility. The next Tesla is going to be right here in Kenya, not anywhere else. That is our phase 1. And now phase 2 now, we can come to your automatic one. At least let us make it electric before automatic. So I want to seek your indulgence to bear with us for just kidogo tu. We finish with the electric mobility, then we can have now the automatic electric mobility. But I'm going to look for a robot to answer you in the next session. But it's a good conversation to have. You know, fortune favors the bold, and we have to take some bold steps. And the steps that we are taking in terms of this green conversation is very, very, very important. So, I don't know if there's any other question, Brenda.
There could have been on the manufacturing of spare parts.
Oh yes, oh yeah, on spare parts, on vehicles. First of all, gentlemen from the association, from the dealers. Yesterday, the day before yesterday, I had a meeting with my sister Rita, the CEO of Isuzu, and I was challenging her. Next week we are going to have a conversation. When the president went to open Isuzu last week, some facility there, he asked that we have this engagement in 2 weeks' time. So in 2 weeks' time, we are going to have this conversation with the president. And I said to Rita that I want you people, the bazaar people, to be there. And I'm glad that you have offered that used vehicles. I also put 17% levy. Are we agreed? Yeah? Because a vehicle is not a luxury. It's not a necessity. You can use our transport, public transport. So, please, asante sana. And why it is important is because now we need to manufacture 5 million vehicles in Africa. And I've been having this conversation with the automotive people. And I didn't want to seek your intelligence, my brother, to see if it must be new vehicles. I mean used vehicles. I am persuaded that we have enough used vehicles here. And I want to demonstrate to you. And that's why I'm bringing all these people together, and I will invite you. How many people bought new Isuzus, new Toyotas, new Mazdas and all that, new Mercedes, and they want to dispose them? Shouldn't we give those people the first opportunity before going to Japan again? Can we explore whether we have got this market here? And, you know, it's a very highly emotive political issue. 2 issues which, as a politician, you don't touch is used vehicles and mitumbas. But we need to have this conversation all the same. If I show you how you can be able to get used vehicles from here, why do you need to get used vehicles from Japan? So we need to do some transition, whereby even if we don't want to say don't use second-hand vehicles, that guy, if Nick Nesbitt had his Toyota, which was off showroom from here, it should, when you want to sell it, it should have the first right of refusal before you import. That's number one. Number two, I have done my statistics from KRA, and you saw us do the G2G for fuel with some government out there, so that we stop this hemorrhage of foreign currency, sending dollars out there for purposes of buying fuel. And I want to tell you, the next big hemorrhage, how we are losing dollars, is in used vehicles. And I'm working on a mechanism to have a boarded custom warehouse for second vehicles. So I allow you as a car bazaar to bring vehicles here without paying duty. You put them in the warehouse here, and you pay duty upon sale. What does that do? That ensures that you don't keep on sending dollars out there all the time and using those, sapping up the dollars that other people need. So if I stop it on fuel, and I stop it on used vehicles, and using my 17%, I stop unnecessary imports, then our shilling will recover. Finally, is something you've touched, which is very passionate to me, on components and parts. During the AFCFTA Trade Ministers meeting, 3/4 of the time we are discussing the policy of AFCFTA on automotive. And I am under pressure from Morocco, Egypt, and South Africa in this arena. And I'm told that Kenya, we should be joining that conversation because if we have the rules of origin, we are averaging around 30 to 35% local component for that. And so it's an area that, I am seized of the matter. I want to see Kenya join that league, not of people who are saying, we go to ministers of Africa for trade. And Kenya, like other countries, that is money enough for South Africa, for Egypt, and for Morocco. And because now our industry is coming up, we want to have that conversation. But maybe first is on so close to 200 to 300,000 vehicles in Kenya, which are grounded, most of them from government, but also a good from the private sector, which are components lying idle. So I'm also working with partners, with our government company known as Numerical Machine Company, to start an initiative. We'll roll it out very soon to harvest the components that can be harvested from abandoned vehicles, old vehicles, so you can have a circular economy in this area of used vehicles. You'll find government department, ministries, the port of Mombasa, we have got unimaginable number of vehicles there. They were says abandoned. Or we want to do harvesting of components so that you can recycle them. And I am persuaded that if we work with the meeting we're going to have next week with the automotive sector, we can be able to harvest a lot of these components, recycle them, and ensure that before we import our components, we make them to use here locally and through the AFCFTA platform for the rest of Africa. Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you, CS. I think we've captured everything. I think the CS has heard your comments regarding being included when they go for signing different treaties and ratifying it. So I'm sure he'll take that on board, and indeed from MSK about really building our brand Kenya as we move along. And there was the one about Amazon. Is that what, Flora, you want to answer that? Listing tea on Amazon.
2 reasons. I've been accused of being very quiet. So I think for me, Bwana Minister, I have a couple of questions still that have not been answered, but I was allowing the people to ask because it's not very often that we're going to have you for a whole day, you mentioned. So I think one of them is the AFCFTA. You are in the trade ministers meeting, and I was in South Africa actually about a month ago. And we also flagged off tea with the president, I think, about 9 months ago. And what I noticed is there was the GTI. And I noticed it because somebody in Ghana called me and said, listen, we want Kenyan tea, and they started trying to do the standardization. And like I mentioned to you, it took very long. So my question, as we are trying to do these agreements, can we really have the discussion on standards? I mean, to get my product to the US, to get my product on Amazon, to the UK, to Japan, is done from here. But yet, when you're trying to move to an African country, there's a whole challenge about that. So there are 2 issues there. One, what can we do about standards? And I do know we have ARSO, and it even has a representative here in Kenya, to an Africa Regional Standardizations Body. I don't think it's particularly doing its job very well. And 2, for the Africa Continental Free Trade. How do we mainstream it? I know there are a couple of countries that we did the GTI with. How do we mainstream it? And maybe you can offer us a desk in your office to actually mainstream that. I think there was also a comment from Afri-XCM Bank. We met them recently as Kepsa, and they gave us a bag of goodies, a lot of opportunities to work with them. We're actually signing an MOU with them with Kepsa. And one of the big things is they did invite us in November to their trade fair. I hope government of Kenya is going to take that so that we can bring our membership. To the gentleman who asked about how to get your products on Amazon, I believe there's a whole conversation around exporting, and that's what I guess Keproba is going to deal with. But once you have your product, certified and it can actually get in, there are aggregators, people who actually do it for you at a fee. So you can go in as a professional, you can go in as an individual, but you will have to have your product warehoused in the country, and therefore this conversation about the Keproba is going to be very important. But I do believe we also need to, and this is, we also need to sort of put our companies in like escalate them, because I come out of Nyamira and I have soapstone. With all due respect, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, and then I say I want to export it to the US. Am I ready? So I also feel we need to have sort of like a cluster, and we say you can go on the accelerated lane, you're probably ready, export ready, but you need to form this. And I do know, because I was in Export Promotion Council before with Jazz, I do know the programs they've had, but I think also as somebody is going for export, to speak to what the chairperson was saying about marketing, it is important for us to have just an important conversation. CAM have these programs, Kepsa have these programs, MSK I'm sure are going to join us, and so will Keproba. So that is going to happen. Finally, yours was pending bills, mine was the prompt payment. When I was in CAM, I was very injured by this whole retail supermarkets collapsing with money. And we came out, we were trying to come out with a prompt payment regulation for private sector, not only government. So we succeeded with the prompt payment code, and it's good right now. So if I have a problem with the supermarket, I'm able to go to the competition authority, and they do get we do get some reprieve. However, we would like to make it a regulation. Alternatively, let's have an ombudsman. In other countries, what they do is they have an ombudsman who has a penalty. So they say, such and such a supermarket, you have violated the terms of this person, and we are going to charge you. And it is an amount that then makes them jump. Because right now, the retail space are still using their dominant position of shelf space to really not give an opportunity to the smaller organizations. Thank you.
I don't know if Wamboi is in the house. Wamboi Barire, is she? Because it would have been interesting for her to answer for the supermarkets, because when we were working with the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, you are pushing me to put the legislation for the government pending bills. We also talked about this issue of the private sector pending bills, where private sector is the enemy of the private sector. And I want us to really take responsibility. A lot of manufacturers are collapsing because of our supermarkets. Look at just our failure rate on our retailers. And it's a conversation we need to have. And again, like I'm saying about government, it's also the same thing. A supermarket is much more liquid than a smaller manufacturer. So it's a case of the poor person lending money to a rich person. It is the same thing, you know. So kila mtu abebe msalaba yake. Me, I'm ready to carry the government one, but you guys, yeah, private sector, retract, I don't know. Yeah? You need to ask yourself, is private sector a friend of the private sector or an enemy of the private sector? Yeah, so that's my challenge. I think the bigger offender is the private sector. Yeah, much as even you want to look at government. Why would a supermarket want a small manufacturer to give them 180 days credit? That is madness. Yeah? Because who is more liquid? Who can access more banking facilities? Is it the small guy or the big guy? So let's also, clean our house as a private sector at the same time on this issue. On the e-commerce, I think this is very important, and it's true. We are working with the Afri-Exim Bank using a platform they call ATEX, which is an Afri-Exim Bank program. And I want to ask you, I think just, and especially you, Dr. because of the SMEs in this space, is that I am very passionate and I want to work with you to enable our people to access global markets using e-commerce. I am very, very passionate about this one. Because e-commerce is what is going to be unifier and equalizer of anybody. That even somebody from some village in Karatina can be able to sell to the US even if they don't have a passport. And we want to do this using our commodities exchange, which we want to open up globally, our warehouse receipt system. Please, let's work together. I don't know just what you have to say about this.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to say that at Keproba, we are already registering SMEs and traders who want to sell on these e-commerce platforms. Amazon is available, Alibaba is available, so just go register with the guys, and there are 3 or 4 platforms that we are already registered, and we are going to take that individual SME to the marketplace, and that facility is already up and running. Thank you.
And by the way, also, just let us have 2 levels. Alibaba is okay, but that is B2C. And I know there are challenges of B2C because of the whole thing of aggregation, logistics, and all that. So we'll work together because I'm having that initiative. Let me give an example. Dubai, for example. Dubai has got a platform they have launched the other day. I met them and we have signed an MOU called Dubai, D-U-B-U-I. You can Google it. That is what is most important for you, that more than Alibaba and more than Amazon. Because for Amazon, the other guy on the other end is a C, is a consumer. So I am putting together a chain of e-commerce on B2B, and more so within the African context, what we are calling the export trading companies. And I'm going to have a meeting here in Nairobi of the aggregators of e-commerce. That's what we are calling the export trading companies. Because what these people need is not more of Amazon, not more of Alibaba. It is more of who is the other counterpart on that end whom they can be able to deal with on a B2B basis.
Thank you so much, CS Korea. That brings us to the end of this session. Thank you for very rich conversation and for all your comments, both encouraging and also challenging. You have offered us a lot. You have also offered to come back and speak to us when we ask you to. And as you said, you have a lot on your mind. You have a lot to share. And today you have showcased that. CS, we can't thank you enough for being, as you said, the Minister for the Private Sector. Thank you. We have a small gift which I'd like Flora to give to you. And as they're giving the gift, may I ask the old board members and trustees to be prepared to come for a photograph with the CS and thereafter the new board. Pose for your photo. And Eric, we take you as the honorary member with Can we have the old board of Kepsa, the previous board, not the old board, apologies. And trustees and founders, you know, Bill, please come on stage. Patrick, Vimal, please come on stage just for the photo with the CS and thereafter the new board. Age one. Thank you. Please look forward to the cameras. I think you're okay. Thank you. And then maybe we could request the new board members for the old board members to get off stage. Thank you. Previous, not old. Previously old. And the old new member. Be careful, watch. New board members, please. Let's move it along.